What a night in the NBA last night. Huge upsets in Game 1. And there were some really hard tickets out there. In fact, an Academy Award-winning filmmaker didn't get tickets to one of the games, and he had to go to the Met Gala instead. And all he had to do was download the Game Time.
Yeah, so easy.
Yeah, so most people don't have the Met Gala to fall back on. So what do you do when you want to go to an event that is sold out? When you want to go specifically to an NBA playoff game that is sold out? Like this filmmaker, you should have downloaded the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed, incredible ticket coverage. For me, Game Time is the best in the secondary market. I use it all the time, especially come playoff time.
Chris Cody in a previous segment, I don't know if you guys saw it on video, if you caught it or not, but Chris Cody was pantomiming what looked like a pretty happy roller coaster descent into hell of the plane is crashing, I'm a fireball, I'm screaming. What have I done with it? Yes, it seemed happier than I would have imagined.
Ah!
Yes, that was, you were Arnold Schwarzenegger falling from the sky.
I'm falling!
Yes.
To quote Billy, though, what's the big deal?
Well, that is... I enjoyed.
If you're dead, what difference does it make if you saved $190?
No,
That
no,
2 minutes, Billy.
Yeah, that 2
will
minutes
suck.
of falling. That like, yeah, I understand. No, I don't want my last 2 minutes
sorry.
on Earth begging for death
Am I
to
talking
take me away.
Am I talking to a ghost right now? No, you're alive.
I'm not going to give you buy-in on this one, pal. Like, I don't want to die in an airplane crash, and I'm not going to pretend like it's no big deal.
Spirit has had a
You
zero
don't want to
fatal
bite into an
crashes
onion
in
anymore.
26 years.
You're like,
Zero. It's impossible to have less than zero fatal crashes
I'm sorry,
in 26 years.
Daredevil, the man without fear. I didn't know you were this hard ass all of a sudden.
Billy, to be fair, you don't want the last 2 minutes of your life being like, damn, why did I buy a Spirit ticket? That's it. It's not.
It's almost worse than death.
I should have spent the
like,
$220.
I could have avoided all of this.
Also, I didn't bring any cartons with me.
Oh, the cigarettes for barter would have been such a good idea. I'm dead.
Wish I could get on a Spirit flight right now.
Pack a parachute. They're going to charge you, but, you know.
The thing that I saw happening very clearly, again, I'm looking at our erstwhile executive producer and what's being talked about, because what I'm hearing there is there are a lot of people who need that $200 and a $35 Spirit flight. You can shame people about it, but he did get home successfully. And while we can be classist or elitist about $200 doesn't matter, I need to save my life, when Chris Cody is a fireball with the last couple minutes of his life and he's enjoying it and it's Schwarzenegger, it's, oh, I'm dying. It's also, I'm dying, and I've done some simple math. I knew that I made the price of my life $200 when I chose this particular flight. So it's not just that you're a fireball that's made a terrible mistake on, I only valued my life at $200. That realization while on fire burns a little extra.
No, it's even worse than that, Dan, because as he's crashing to Earth in his final moments, he can't even hold his son. Because his son is sitting in a different middle
I would
seat.
find a way to switch seats, all right? And when I start to see that this thing is going awry.
Excuse me, is anyone next to you?
Yeah, I would manage to get next to my boy.
You got Zaz going, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me,
Pardon me.
excuse me.
No, the G-forces on this make this totally plausible.
A story I have not gotten yet to today, and I've been remiss in not doing so. I've done a couple of things today that have been a little delayed, and this particular story. Yesterday, when I saw the Ravens statement and sort of did some inventory on the last 10 years of American history through the Ravens organization, okay? Sports was the place where they kind of showed us what domestic abuse looks like. It's one of the greatest scandals in the history of sports that Ray Rice introduced us to. Oh, that's what it looks like when somebody beats the holy hell out of their significant other. And that's what it looks like when a Ravens organization rallies to protect its beloved Ray Rice. And that's what it looks like when a Ravens organization is pushed to the brink on, hey, do you want to have a comment on Colin Kaepernick as a backup? And the owner says, pray for us. This is one of the best organizations in sports, not just football, in sports. It's been great, and only because of the Patriots are we not even regarding them higher. The Ravens represent football very well. Football played well. Football played with discipline. They've won a lot of games because their kicker is better than everyone else. They had Adam Vinatieri for the modern age. He was the best. We all knew that when we're playing with math, right? 7 points or 3 points. The 3 points are hugely important. All the games are close. Justin Tucker is hugely valuable and beloved because, holy shit, the guy never misses and makes me feel good all the time, and other teams fear him. He's a valuable kicker.
When you have a 2-minute drill and most teams need to get to like the 30 to give themselves a chance, they go to the 45. They have no idea. Well, they're about to find out, and they found out a little bit last year.
No, they found out a lot last year, and that's why he's waived. Be clear on that. Be clear on that. He's not waived because of the crimes. He's waived because he was bad last year.
I mean, that's what they said, right? Football reasons.
So let me give you two scenarios. Scenario one, he has a more typical Justin Tucker year last year, but he has all of these issues.
Hold on. Before we get to the hypotheticals that we can have a field day with on isn't morally right, just let me get through the part of this that outraged me yesterday, legitimately pissed me off as somebody who can be pretty numb to how cold sports can be. The Ravens falling all over themselves to release Justin Tucker with a hand to their head and faint on "this hurts so much," to tell you all that it hurts because it feels like Justin Tucker's the victim of, oh, God, he was gross on alleged predatory stuff that seems reliable enough to be true no matter how shameless people are today about denying scandals. A lot of people coming forth, ew, creepy, disgusting behavior that the Ravens can't bring themselves to castigate in public as they release the following statement. Sometimes football decisions are incredibly difficult, and this is one of those instances. Considering our current roster, we have made the tough decision to release Justin Tucker. Justin created many significant and unforgettable moments in Ravens history. His reliability, focus, drive, resilience, and extraordinary talent made him one of the league's best kickers for over a decade. We are grateful for Justin's many contributions while playing for the Ravens. We sincerely wish him and his family the very best in this next chapter of their lives. That's Executive Vice President and General Manager Eric DaCosta. And what that is, and this should be overt to all, I think, right? I don't know if this bothers you at all, but this is a person whose punctuation on his career with very credible information, no matter what it is that we have to say about alleged here, was predatory in nature over women who were helpless in a way that's very similar to Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson wouldn't deserve a statement of release like that right now, and Justin Tucker doesn't deserve a statement of release. I'm hesitant to even use the word release given what he's accused of. But what the Ravens did there was not leadership. It was not hard. They're defending somebody as if he's a victim when he made others the victim, and they're doing it with a bad kicker. They're not even doing it with the courtesy of a player who plays actual football respected by other football players because it's collisions. They're doing it to protect the precious kicker that no one respects just because he's worth 3 points at a time and just because that means more to the Ravens than real victims and women. And I just wish one time one of these football organizations would stand for something, not virtue signaling, but just stand for something that says, hey, it's not okay, even if you have to cover your ass legally, which they do have to cover their ass legally. Like, I'm not pretending or moralizing here and saying there's not a lot of cover your ass legally that you have to do here because he hasn't yet been convicted of things, and there's plausibly some stuff that he can do legally that makes it seem like he was fired before it was legally just to do so on things that are accusations and not yet crimes.
I would say the counterpoint to that, though, is is if he was a good kicker, they may not have released him.
They would not
like,
have. They would not
So,
have.
like, they are releasing him because he was a bad kicker. You're making it seem like they're using the accusations as an excuse for releasing him, and they're taking this moral stand, which they probably wouldn't have taken had he been a good kicker.
I think he's probably still around, though, were it not for the allegations. He's arguably the greatest kicker of all time. And I'd say what's pretty telling is, where's the big tribute video? Baltimore? Like, where is this? Seemed like you're showering praise on Justin Tucker. Why haven't you put out the tribute video to your social channels? Well, oh, that's right, because there's something around this whole Justin Tucker story that certainly plays into what you allege is a football decision that was certainly made a lot easier because he all of a sudden, because I can only presume, had all this stuff going around his life that it affected his on-field performance. We got clued into that later last season, and we were like, well, I guess this makes sense because what we saw last year from Justin Tucker was confusing because and he was bad by most metrics, but he was really bad by his standard. It was shocking because every time that guy came out, you knew it was going in between the posts. You knew that he would do things at a higher clip than almost anyone else in the history of the game.
And that was my question. My question is, had he had a typical Justin Tucker year, wait, let me say it all. Had he had a typical Justin Tucker year, but had these allegations, would he still be on the roster? And then the second question is, had he had the year he had last year with no allegations, would he still be on the roster?
So we can have this conversation at any point through the last 20 years of crimes in sports. Can you guys look up for me something, please? Because I think Mike is understating how bad Justin Tucker was last year. I think, I have not read the kicker numbers recently, but I believe that Justin Tucker went from the surest thing in the sport, best there's ever been, to if not the worst kicker in the league. I think it might have been worst, but if not the worst, one of the very worst. And so now I tell you and I ask you, the audience, what's tough about this decision? Like, why can't you make the stand on, man, this is like, again, they have to wait for legal and they have to wait for times that you can cut people. And there are corporate things that have to be adhered to so that you can make sure that you know in front of everybody, we have to make a corporate football decision that covers everybody's ass here. But would you not like to hear one team be able to talk about, to be brave enough to work around the lawyer stuff and simply say, we released Justin Tucker, period. Not we have released Justin Tucker. That's not even a stand. That's asking a football team to say about a bad kicker, get out of here. Like, that's not what you're accused of. It's not, never mind whether or not you're a good or bad kicker. What you're accused of will knock out any kicker because it's the kicker. And we should respect women more than that.
His numbers were actually pretty comparable to Young Wei O and Evan McPherson, two guys that I believe still have their jobs that we know to be good, that had down years last year, and we're not doing the whole football reasons there. I think for Justin Tucker, if none of this stuff is surrounding him, I think the greatest kicker in NFL history gets brought back for another opportunity to see. They may still draft a kicker like, okay, well, I guess.
They did.
Yeah. Well, they did because I think this stuff was surrounding him. Justin Tucker, if anyone at that position is afforded one slightly down, well, not slightly for him, but slightly in terms of NFL average, slightly down season, it would be him.
Well, that's the point. That's the part that's so frustrating is they absolutely released him. It's like, okay, they did the right thing. They released him because he's involved with these allegations. So they did the right thing here. But they're not willing to admit that that's why that they did it. Like, why can't one time they just say, we don't want to be associated with anyone involved in these type of allegations? A player of his caliber who got that statement, by the way, which was a nice statement, a heartfelt statement for a guy who's been there forever and is one of the great kickers of all time. If that guy has the season he just had, he's getting afforded another season to make good on it. But he was clearly let go because of the allegations. So why can't they just one time say, we don't want to be associated with this?
Because then if they do that, and then the next year, a much better player gets similar anything.
Well, they drafted a player in the second round this year who dealt with sexual allegations.
But it's just
this draft.
Similar anything. God almighty. Similar anything. There have been two of them, and there's not a similar anything in like the history of us covering football. Similar anything to what he and Deshaun Watson did?
No, he's had allegations, though, to the point, like, they could avoid the issue entirely. They don't seem to be. So it's almost as if, like, you do have reason to believe that football reasons played into this. It's not exclusively the football reason, though. I refuse to believe that. Justin Tucker, it's a reason why we've yet to see the tribute video, because they don't want to put it out there because they don't want to deal with the comment section.
You'll never see that tribute video.
And I think that's to Zaz's point. I think you're right. They're cutting him because of the issues. Yeah. But at the same time, they're trying to do him a quote-unquote solid by, like, hey, we're not going to, like, bury you by saying, oh, whatever.
Okay, but
So they're trying to be nice to him by saying, oh, it's totally a football reason. Just the fact that they had to say, for total football reasons, who says that in a press release when you release someone? You say, yeah, today we parted ways with so-and-so. We wish him the best. That's how you usually release someone. So the fact that they put all that in there is because they're trying to cover for him and for the allegations that have been made against
and cover for themselves, too.
For sure.
Because they've done some reporting how early in this process they were notified and they knew.
I don't know how the audience receives this. I don't know if the audience thinks this is moralizing or virtue signaling. Football reasons. I want, just like we just did the math on, I'm a fireball, I'm burning. What's my life worth? $200. Football is telling you that if you are somebody who allegedly spends a lot of time revealing himself to masseuses, doing sexually deviant things that in a massage parlor that makes several credible women, many women, covered by many journalists, say this was something that he was repeatedly doing. Football has told you now, the Ravens, one of the great organizations in sports, you want us to be moral about these things? Here's the price if we've got somebody that we think has a name in our uniform, even if it's a kicker. We will respect women if he goes from 90% of his kicks to 80% of his kicks. That's what women and victims are worth to us as a football organization. And also, when that 10% goes down, in the statement, we will praise him and not say anything about it. If he goes down, that's what they're telling you. That league where the moral stand of what these things cost is, if you're a deviant, an alleged deviant like Justin Tucker doing Deshaun Watson things, the way you will get waived is if your percentage goes from 90% to 80%, and we will not say anything about your crimes publicly. We will take care of you at the end.
Well, Justin Tucker's percent actually went from like 86 to 73, which is extreme. He's 35 years old. Those two things and the off-field things saw his demise.
I'm just saying that 13%, like,
it's huge.
But no, absorb it. You say it's huge. I think you're doing the math wrong. Absorb that what the NFL is telling you here is that if you're an alleged criminal with shameful crimes and you're a kicker and you go down by 13%, that's about how much they value women, and they're not going to say so in the statement.
Well, look how far it took for the NFL to decide this Deshaun Watson, for the Browns specifically to decide this Deshaun Watson thing isn't for us. It's the ineffectiveness. And he got a lot of opportunities when it was very clear. It went over. The Ravens are just following the set standard. Like, these allegations seemingly, yeah, there's suspensions and punishment, but they're not being thrown in jail. I mean, we still talk about them as allegations and settlements. Deshaun Watson, at the game's most important position, survived it. Surely a kicker could.
There isn't a team in the NFL that would have released a Justin Tucker in his circumstances and made specific reference to the allegations. It's just not done. He hasn't been convicted of a crime. He hasn't been charged with a crime, to my knowledge. The civil suits haven't been settled. It is alleged right now. Now, do I think he's guilty based on everything I've read and heard? Yes, I absolutely do. But for his club not to mention that in a statement is not the least bit surprising.
But Greg, the counterpoint is, okay, you don't have to mention it. Why would they mention football reasons specifically?
Well, they shouldn't have, and it was much too flowery.
Right. Well, if it was football reasons, we'd get the proper football goodbye for one of the game's greatest legends. I think what everyone's taken issue here and why Dan's crumpling up the paper is the way that the Ravens approached this last year was kind of bull. They never had to really address this head on. And now, when he's on his way out and you conveniently hang your hat on football reasons, but skirt all the other football reason stuff that you would with an honoring a proper legend. It seems like the Ravens are trying to get one over on
Fair
us.
or unfair for me to say, it's not that they're trying to get one over on us. One of the great football organizations has gotten one over on us because I'm giving you the history of one of the best football teams there have been in the last 20 years. When it comes to Ray Rice and Colin Kaepernick, pray for us.
Don't forget Ray Lewis.
And now this, thank you. the organization that gave you and birthed all of this with Ray Lewis, but also gave you Ray Rice and Justin Tucker and pray for us on Colin Kaepernick. It's a fairly extraordinary thing for me to be able to look at a 15, 20-year body of work and say, look at that. Baltimore Ravens, one of the great franchises, one of the great leadership football franchises. Cowards.
Look at Kansas City, though.
Cowards, though, is what I'm saying. Look at what, yes, you can look at Kansas City, but when I'm saying one of the great football organizations, stand for something. You've got the confidence of, you guys have been really good for 20 years. You can stand for something. And what do you stand for? Protecting Justin Tucker, protecting your own, protecting the compound, protecting the huddle, and not standing for anything other than cowardice in plain sight when you can actually make a literal statement on something.
Okay, and what would that statement have said?
It should have came during the season, and they cowered to a bunch of pressure, but they would probably hold up what they did with Ray Rice as, look, we did the hard thing. At that point, it was a pretty obvious thing, but remember how good Ray Rice was when that video burst on the scene.
Hold on. They did the right thing when that video burst on the scene. Before that video burst on the scene, they didn't quite do the right thing.
Wait, but was Ray Rice that good? I thought his last year he was 3.4 yards a carry or something. I think they did the same thing with Ray Rice.
It's another data point as to why I think Justin Tucker would be given another opportunity, because Ray Rice was actively being given another opportunity to recapture his form.
Dan, to your point about the Ravens being one of the great organizations and look at how they skated, again, I would point to, who would we call the greatest organization of the 21st century? They had murderers. Yeah. An
alleged serial killer.
A single murderer, not murderers, a single murderer.
Murderers is what I meant to say. Murderers.
Multiple
Murders.
Single murder. It was one. It was
one
one.
murderer.
It wasn't one murder.
One
It was
murderer.
one murderer.
One
Let
murderer.
me finish. There's an extra syllable from murder to murderer.
Yeah.
One murderer.
We're all trying to help him.
Murderers. Murderers, though. Multiple murderers. It's a weird word, murderers. Sounds like a country person just heard, murderers. Oh, I hurt murderers.
It's a hard thing to laugh around.
You got to find the funny in everything.
The Celtics last night.
Segue.
Speaking of New England
LeBron.
sports,
Took 45 uncontested three-pointers. They missed 32 of them. That's not going to happen again. So we're clear. That has nothing to do with anybody's defense, incidentally. We can talk about OG's perimeter defense. That has nothing to do with anybody's perimeter defense. The Celtics missed 32 three-pointers last night that were uncontested.
Can I talk about three particular attempts that I really really hated? One was Drew Holiday grabs an offensive rebound that off of a missed three, grabs it in the corner, turns around and wildly pulls up another three. Just casually, just throws it up there. I'm like, what are you doing? And number two, and this one really bothered me, and I get it. We say this about him all the time, but I'm like, come on, guy. Jason Tatum, you got Jalen Brunson on you on an island. That's the matchup that every team that's playing against the Knicks is looking for. How can we get Jalen Brunson in single coverage against our best perimeter player? And this jamoke takes not one, but two step-back threes? What are you doing?
Please.
Well, what they're doing is being lazy, is what it is.
No,
It's
but-
so much easier
did you
to
hear-
do that.
Let's examine for a second what the Celtics have done to basketball and the poison that is them having it easy last year and Mike Ryan being frustrated all offseason because he's like, Tatum didn't even have to show us anything if all he's going to do is just take every step-back jumper and you're just better at threes than everybody and you're just better than everybody. And they beat the respect out of you by making all their threes. Tatum last night, look, it's not Brunson missed a shot at the rim, an easy one, and none of us are questioning how clutch he is. But man, Tatum doesn't even get tested on the clutch. And in last night's game, those shots were weak. That's a guy that's used to, I'm going to get to take all of these 33-pointers every spot, and I don't even have to break down Brunson. I'll step back because I can get this shot whenever I want for the rest of my life, and history will not respect me if that's what I am at the end of games, because I don't even have to try at the end of games. I'll make 14% of these, and none of them will be in tough games, and we'll beat everybody by 5.
Zaz, you were surprised that I wasn't as thrown off by Dagnall saying we would foul up 3 again,
Yeah.
maybe a little later in the clock, but as an overall philosophy. I one-up you with Joe Mazzulla after the game being asked about, hey, you guys missed 40-some-odd threes. 19 of your 20 attempts in the third quarter were 3-pointers.
Which, think about say that. Can you say that part again? Because I feel like you say that, and maybe some people watching and listening, they don't really grasp what you just said. Tell everybody again in the third quarter what their field goal attempts were.
The Boston Celtics took 23 field goal attempts in the third quarter.
They were winning by 20. They were in the third quarter. The Boston Celtics, who have not been tested, they give up a 20-point lead because they just start taking jumpers from 40 feet away.
They took 20 field goal attempts in the third quarter. 19 of them were from 3.
That's garbage. It's garbage basketball. I'm so over the Celtics where they're winning basketball games with math. I like analytics. I like learning more about the game. I like the numbers and to be able to help us figure things out. But the Celtics are just winning with math. Let's shoot as many 3-pointers as possible. It's one of the worst things that has ever happened to the league.
But they won. They won a championship.
Yeah, but
With math, because they're really good at shooting.
I don't think it's
So why are they going to change their game plan just because they've got a 20-point
They're
lead?
not.
That's what they do.
Well, I hope they do, because it's not just math. It's also, conveniently, we have this core where everyone questions their mental fortitude, and we had the pristine luck of every round the opposing team's best player got injured. Until we made it to the finals against a team nobody expected to be there in the NBA Finals, and they somehow got lucky and won an NBA championship. You need some luck there.
Not lucky.
They got lucky in that every team's best player in the playoffs in that Eastern Conference got hurt. And what happened last night was they were playing with their food because they expected to come easy to them.
And they're lazy.
Because it did come easy to them last year.
I mean, Dan, they attempted 63s and 37 twos.
Guys.
Zaz, it wasn't even, I'm sorry, Dan, but it wasn't even like, man, like we couldn't get any dribble penetration or whatever, or couldn't get to. They didn't even try. It was strictly perimeter based, and I'm gonna stick up for analytics. Analytics doesn't say keep shooting like a dumbass, right? The most valuable shot in basketball is a layup or a dunk. That even with all the threes in the corner, it's still a layup or a dunk is number 1 on that list, right? And so they didn't even attempt. Tatum had 1 layup in that fourth quarter or / overtime, and I was like, oh, I thought you were allergic. What happened? How did you get lost on the way to the 3-point line and find yourself under the rim?
Fans love talking about, what adjustments you're going to make from game to game. Halftime adjustments. As if we can never have the coach make an in-game adjustment. And Joe Mazzulla after the game, who, by the way, I don't know that Joe Mazzulla is a good coach. Joe Mazzulla after the game has to go look, he says he has to go look at the tape and see what they did wrong. Joe, you shot 1,000 threes. You missed them all, and you kept shooting them all game long. What are you talking about? You have to go back and look at the film. Do something else with your offense and shoot threes.
This is what I'm telling you is confusing about the evolution of this sport, okay? Because James Harden will be a plague forevermore for not doing this aesthetically well, but winning the MVP and saying, bleep off. It's all about efficiencies. I don't care whether you like how it looks. I don't care whether you think it's entertaining. When I'm sitting here doing a sports show with people I know who know sports, and Zaslow's sitting here saying out loud, I don't know if Joe Mazzulla is a good coach.
I don't.
And Mike is sitting here disrespecting what has been one of the great teams of the last 2 years over 2 full seasons that have trounced his Heat with, they're lucky. When what they've actually done is Brad Stevens did what Theo Epstein did, which is like, I'll do accounting. I'll figure out how to get Drew Holiday and Porzingis, and we'll take all of the threes and we'll fix the math of the sport, but also make it less interesting. And I'm going to be confounded by whether Joe Mazzulla is a good coach because they've just fixed 53s in your face, and Pritchard is better than anyone out there shooting like ridiculous threes because they have the pieces in place that both ruins the sport and makes the analysis of it stink. when we give it so much math that Mike Ryan is like, the Celtics are lucky, and Zaz is sitting here, is Joe Mazzulla's a good coach? Oh, it's all because they're built better than everyone else. They're like in racing. They've got the better car.
Well, no one on this show has given them more credit for doing the hard thing and actually making the aggressive move. It's couched every single one of my Miami Heat takes. But the fact remains, no Jimmy Butler, no Joel Embiid. Halliburton gets hurt. Rick Carlisle, look at that Pacers series and look at their win probabilities and look at the bull that the Pacers did down the stretch to blow those games. It is irrefutable that they got lucky on their path to their first NBA championship, a championship that eluded that core for years on end.
This is what I'll say. Tom Haberstroh said this a long time ago. Every single champion in NBA history has an asterisk. Every single one. Because someone got hurt, someone got suspended. That's part and parcel of the journey. I'm not going to take anything away from their championship as a result, because every little champion before them has benefited in one way or another. Having said that, Dan, they don't have the best roster. They haven't broken the sport. They play well. They win a lot of games. Guess what? So do a lot of other teams in this league. The Nuggets win a lot of games. Have they broken the sport? They won as many titles as the Celtics have, right? The Bucks have won as many titles as the Celtics have in the last 5 years. We literally, since 2018, we've had a new champion every year. So I don't think there's any one team that says, yeah, we broke basketball and everyone has to fall in our way. Now, it's yes, the three-point line is more important now than it's ever been in basketball. We figured it out. We figured out taking contested two-point jumpers is bad. Take that step back, take a three. But as I said, the road to the most efficient offense still begins with in the rim, in the restricted area. Number 2 is a free throw. Number 3 is a corner 3. Number 4 is a wing 3. And the idea also is it's not baking, right? It's not one part, this instant result. You have to be able to adjust. Put too much salt? Okay, let me add some more sauce over here. What the Celtics do is like, no, I got to keep adding salt. They says there's salt in the recipe. Got to keep adding salt. And that's not how basketball is played. It's not played by robots, Dan. It's played by human beings that have to, Dan, they have to make decisions.
Your tears are salty and all of it's
my
salty.
Tears?
No, because listen, you guys
lost the game last night. What, my tears?
I'll tell you what tears sound like when you're a Heat basketball show. The Boston Celtics have been indisputably, now we can talk about Cleveland and OKC, for the last 2 years up until right now, clearly the best team in basketball by point differential. You can whimper all you want about that. Give them their respect on what they've actually been the last 2 years. You can tell me you think Denver's better. You can tell me you think OKC or Cleveland is better. But to date, no one challenges them. They've made it look easy. And I would not be surprised if they win the series by 5 games.
Who'd they play?
The Knicks, if they beat them in the... What? That was you again!
From game night to parties with friends or special anniversary, celebrating important occasions means more moments with the coolest people in your life. Cheers to 50 years of Miller Lite, the great tasting light beer for people who love beer since 1975. Now's a perfect time to celebrate legendary stories with friends, family, and a great tasting light beer. It's Miller time. When I think of Miller Lite, I think of me and my dad cheersing, watching a Marlins game, on a cruise together. We get the tsk-tsk-ah and the cheers. It's just, when I think of Miller Lite, I think of times with my dad, times with family and friends. It's the original light beer since 1975, still iconic 50 years later. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
All right, we got Juju with us. Huge Celtics fan, of course. He's got his Celtics jersey. I don't like that. I'm not going to lie. Juju, what did you make of last night? Are you nervous now after the Celtics missed 1,000 threes and they trail the series 1-0?
Yeah, man. What a travesty. What an embarrassment. Like Amin said, once you start taking threes and they're not going in, you got to be able to adjust. My high school coach would have took a timeout mid-third quarter and said, next person to shoot a three, you're coming to sit by me. Let's get some drives to the hole. It's inexcusable. One 2-pointer in the whole third quarter. I was watching the game. I was telling my girl over and over. I said, another three. We haven't shot a 2-pointer this entire quarter. And they kept shooting and kept missing. You got Jalen Brunson on you, Jason Tatum. Drive to the damn hole. You got these folks on you that I don't see nobody stopping them if they put their head down and go to the hole. You're either going to get fouled or find somebody to dish it to. They don't have a good – I agree with you, bro. Zaslow, rarely do I agree with you. But if this is on Joe Mazzulla, man, you got to be able to make some adjustments. This is the playoffs. This ain't no play game. Like, so I really hate what the Celtics are doing. Everything you guys are saying is right. We're ruining the game and it's boring basketball to watch.
Like, I mean, am I supposed to believe that I really don't know if Joe Mazzulla is a good coach or not, but am I supposed to believe that Mazzulla at some point there early in the fourth quarter doesn't tell his guys, hey, you know what? Maybe we post up Jason Tatum. He's got a size advantage. Hey, you know what? Maybe we get to the free throw line, Jalen. Let's slow the game down, get 2 shots at the line. Like, why aren't we changing things up?
Well, he was remarkably defensive in his post-game press conference. He said in any game there are about 8 to 10 shots where we could have probably done better. And I said maybe it was closer to 5 or 8. Maybe it was closer to 10 this game. But he said overall that's not why we lost. He kept reiterating like the shot selection wasn't an issue. He had no problem with it. And so it's one of those things where Juju, as a Celtics fan, like, how do you feel? He comes across as really arrogant, but like we tend to not accept that from someone who hasn't been around for a while, right? If Popovich is arrogant, we're like, well, he's won 5 titles and he's won a zillion games. But we kind of look at Joe Mazzulla as, you inherited this team 2 years ago that was already on the cusp. We all think the guy you took over for is the better coach. I don't know, from the outside looking in, I would think that you would be like, who are you to be so cocky about this strategy that clearly was flawed?
Right. Like you said, it's unearned arrogance. Ime Udoka set this team up. As you see, he took his talents to Houston, and Houston is a competitor now. I feel like if you take Joe Mazzulla and put him on another team, dare I say it wouldn't be the same situation. Like you said earlier in the show, Mark Dagnall had the perfect response. Damn, maybe I went to the fouling too soon. That's on me. I'm the coach. I decided to do that. Joe Mazzulla never has any kind of accountability. He's too smug in these situations. Bro, relax. We messed the game. We blew it. Show some humiliation. Show something other than your arrogance to these people who are coming to do their job.
Well, Juju, let me get your reaction to this, because if I were a Celtics fan today, I would be like, 3-point game got us here. Won a championship, got us where we are now. We had a terrible, historically bad night. That's not going to happen again. We're the champions. We're not going to change our game because of a 2-point overtime loss when we shoot worse than we're ever going to shoot again. Stick with what got you here. You win on threes. You're going to win on threes. This is our game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you on that part, but the Knicks also out-toughed us yesterday. Like the game sealing play was a perfect example of the exact game. Mikal Bridges snatched the ball from Jaylen Brown, and was like, they would just impose their will the entire second half. We showed no toughness. It's like, I don't like the softness we displayed and the finesse versus they were just going straight through our chest. OG Anunoby, salute, man.
Juju, how'd the audience take our Celtics-Knicks conversation today?
They took it pretty good. We had a couple of choice words said. Salute to Sam Morrell. That was definitely was some bombs in the YouTube chat, but overall they liked it. You know what I mean?
Did they say any nice things about me?
They don't like to see you guys going back and forth. They love you, Zaz, and they love Greg Cody. Okay. We don't like to see you guys argue over what's a fact or what's a news article or what's that stuff.
Sometimes journalists go after each other, Juju,
sure.
From one journalist to another. We do have an update
on that, by the way. Elliot Friedman, the best insider in all of hockey, has reported the ruling came on down. No additional punishment. For Sam Bennett's collision with Anthony Stolarz.
Okay. And did he say as
first reported?
Zaslow had it first, props to Zaslow.
No, even worse, he opined saying that there should have been a suspension.
Well, that's a lack of journalistic integrity, right, Greg?
No, I wouldn't say so, but apparently when you and I go back and forth, people don't like that. So from now on, we'll be nothing but amicable.
No, I speak for myself.
Right. Also, there's been a couple other dunks, buzzer beaters, as like Dan said, for the first time he saw a dunk buzzer beater. I tend to remember Dwight Howard had an alley-oop dunk buzzer beater back in the day, as well as I think the famous Jimmy V play when he run around the court. I feel like that was a Five Slamma Jamma buzzer beater at the last second. Neither here nor there. You feel me? Also, salute to Asia Wilson. The A1s dropped today. Second women's WNBA player with a shoe, and they look good. The pink guys, go get them if you can. They sold out on Nike instantly. But yeah, man, salute to Asia Wilson and all her efforts.
You got the plug?
You know what I mean? I'll text you a little later. I got you, bro.
Juju, how did the audience feel about a flight that only cost $35?
All right. That was actually a poll. Have you ever taken a $35 Spirit flight? 77% of the audience said no, they haven't.
Wow.
And I haven't either. You're a brave man.
I survived.
I have sources here who claim that they have a full week of Spirit flights booked.
Oh, wow.
A full week.
I'm about to take 5 flights on Spirit in the next 8 days.
Wow.
Yep, I'm flying from here to Orlando, Orlando to Pensacola, Pensacola back. I'm flying from here to New Orleans and New Orleans
Wow.
back.
Been good to know you, Jeremy.
I wasn't worried about it until I listened to this show today.
Was this on the grid?
No, this is just.
The Marlins are really dishing out their money, huh?
I'm Jewish.
Check
Check
back.
this out, man.
Might be saying he was.
Juju, what else we got for polls today?
Will the Warriors Timberwolves series have a chokehold within the first 120 seconds? 81% of the audience says yes, they will.
That makes sense.
Strictly in the United States.
Right. And also props to the Joker last night. What a wonderful performance from him and the Nuggets. I think they should announce the MVP award right when the season is over, because now I'm going to be swayed from the winner of this series now.
Why don't they do that, Amin?
No, they do it because for 2 reasons. One is they like to roll out the awards one at a time so everyone gets their shine. 2 is MVP usually gets awarded in the second round, which means if Shea wins it, we're getting it in game 2. If Joker wins it, we're going to get it in game 3. You heard it here first.
But I think the reason that what Juju is saying there, you want to do it like at the end of the regular season, because what if one of these guys lost in the first round and then you get the Dirk Nowitzki sad press
The
conference?
Dirk one was awkward.
Okay, we got the Dirk sad one. Can you name a second one?
No.
That's the point. Typically, the MVP is pretty good.
You got
He's
our
on a pretty good team.
You got our ass there.
Juju, anything else?
Nah, man, it's a great show, man. Keep it up. So proud of y'all, man. So proud to be a part of this, man. Everybody outside listening to the show, keep your head up. Trouble don't last always.
Juju, let me ask you one thing as a Celtics fan, because you're lamenting the lack of toughness. That's typically a characteristic that is assigned to champions, especially reigning champions. I understand. You're a Celtics fan. The last thing any fan wants to hear is someone who is not a fan say, I don't think you actually earned that champion when you're the last one standing. But I do think that there's some truth, that there was some fortunate luck last year, and you want to see this core group get tested. Is that me being a hating-ass hater, or do you actually think that there's something to it?
Nah, I think it's something to it, because last year, I was hanging on to every game. People forget Jaylen Brown had to hit a buzzer beater 3-pointer to get to overtime versus the Celtics. After that, versus the Pacers, after they had gaffed away the last minute and a half of the game. I don't see them being the superpower that everybody else sees them as. I see them more like you see them. We was lucky last year. I'm not saying that it doesn't require a little luck, but I'm more of the idea or the thinking that you have versus us just being so dominant.
Tell Dan, because Dan is like, they've been running the sport the last. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's the only one who thinks of the Celtics as the most dominant team of the last 2 years. They're
right.
good. They're good.
Yeah, and I think fortunate's a better word than luck. Every champion needs a little bit of luck, but not. I'm telling you, you'd be hard pressed to find a champion that had a run where the best player in every round to get to the final gets injured. That just flatly doesn't happen in a sport where one star means so much. Your best player, the Jimmy Butlers, the Joel Embiids, the Halliburtons, that means a lot in a playoff series, and it can't be decontextualized. It has to go over it, especially with a team that you have questions about still.
Pro-Celtics conspiracy. What do you think? Arranged injuries. Thank you, Juju. That kind of thing. So forth.